Hi, I'm Jen Peters. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to speak really briefly about boundaries and how to set effective boundaries. Because the truth is so many of us were raised in environments where there were no boundaries at all. Or if we tried to set boundaries, we were reprimanded or scapegoated as a result. So if you identify with being raised in an enmeshed family system, which is a family system that has a complete lack of boundaries, then you'll probably struggle as an adult in setting boundaries. If you were raised in an environment where there is narcissism or codependency, you will also struggle setting boundaries. I want you to know though that it doesn't have to remain this way. It just means that we have to actually learn how to do it. So one of the other reasons that makes it difficult for us to set boundaries, if you're struggling with this, is that we most likely have programming from childhood that make it really tricky for us. For example, if you identify with people pleasing, it will be really hard to set boundaries because the idea of upsetting somebody really goes against that particular coping pattern of people pleasing. If you relate to maybe caretaking, again for the same reasons, it'll be really hard to say no because you're going to feel like you're denying that person. The same goes for being guilted. Many of us feel guilty putting in boundaries because we've been guilted a lot as children as a way of manipulating us or getting us to do things. So here's the thing, you are not responsible for other people and how they respond. And provided that you are setting boundaries from a solid and neutral and loving place, then how the other person reacts is truly about them and their own unhealed wounding. So here are a few steps that you can follow. The first thing is clearly state your boundary. Okay, so I'm going to give you the steps first and I'll give you an example. So clearly state your boundary, clearly state your needs, state how you'll respond if your boundary is crossed again. And please know this isn't about an ultimatum or a threat. It all comes down to your intention and actually the place that you're actually communicating this from. The final area that we need to look at is be prepared to follow through. That's where most boundaries fall over, is that we might state them and we really mean it, but when the person crosses the boundary again, we are unable to bring ourselves to actually follow through and do anything about it, and that's where they fall over. So examples, clearly state your boundary. So you could say, for example, I am no longer available to be spoken to in this way. Clearly state your needs. I deserve to be spoken to in a respectful way, and I ask that going forward that you do this and you do speak to me respectfully. State how you will respond if the boundary is crossed again. So if you continue to speak to me in this way, I will no longer engage with you. The truth is there are so many other healthy ways that we can communicate that will serve us both. And so if this happens again, it might be a phone call, you might be actually there, but you need to remind them of what your boundary is. If they don't follow through with respecting your boundary, then you need to follow through with enforcing it, which means either saying, look, I've told you that I'm not prepared to be spoken to in this way anymore. I'm terminating the call now, and hang up. Okay. The truth is that when you do this, you're probably going to have to do this a few times. You're going to have to really stand in your boundary. But when you do, you are basically showing that other person that you really mean it and that you are standing by what you say. And you will one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to see a change in behavior from the other person, and that does happen, and it happens regularly, okay? Or they're not going to change. But the thing is that you will have stepped away from that, and you would have up-leveled within your own energetic frequency around what you will and will not tolerate. Okay, so just to recap, clearly state your boundary, clearly state your needs, state how you'll respond if your boundary is crossed again. Be prepared to follow through. And remember, you are not responsible for other people's behavior, but you are responsible for yours and for protecting your beautiful space. Now, I have more information on my page around boundary setting, and I also have quite an extensive module within my Dissolving Codependency program that will also help you dissolve whatever programming that you personally have in relation to setting boundaries. Okay, my loves, I hope this was helpful. Have a beautiful day. Mwah.